Hello, it's Tuesday, and welcome to Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan. I hope you all had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and while you were having your barbecue, you also remembered why we celebrate Memorial Day. I am a military brat. Both of my parents served in the military. I have a younger sister who served in the Navy, whose birthday was also yesterday. So, Memorial Day is a big deal. I hope you all had a great time. And now that we're back to work, and now that summer is officially here, let's talk about something that you might have found a bit unusual: modern women's big blunders. Now, keep in mind, every Tuesday, we are talking about something interesting, something new, something exciting every Tuesday here on Heart and Mind. We're at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. on the Pacific Coast. I also welcome everybody from Australia. As you know, I often have my friend Melinda Richards join me from Australia. She's in Queensland, where it is Wednesday at approximately 10 a.m. I've also received notice from people who are in New Zealand and the UK. And God bless you, insomniacs in the UK, because it is 1 o'clock in the morning in the UK. Now, I'm sure you've watched the show before, but if you haven't, I feel duty bound to remind you of what I do and why I think the way I do, why this show is different. Because a lot of people think they know what I do because I'm a social psychologist. It is not like clinical psychology. I don't pull people in and try to see where they have neuroses, how their childhood caused them a problem. Now, I have studied psychology extensively, but social psychology is different. We study the brain and how people learn, how they're influenced and persuaded, how they're manipulated and coerced, how they're indoctrinated and even brainwashed. So we look not only at what's going on in the world, we look at relationships, because there's often a lot of these things in interpersonal relationships as well. If you look me up, if you Google Dr. Dina McMillan, you will find my work in abusive relationships. The fact that I've created so far the only targeted prevention program for domestic violence called Unmasking the Abuser. And if you look up Dr. Dina, Unmasking the Abuser, and type in TED, you'll see my TED Talk where I discuss it and how I exposed the manipulation tactics used by abusers to lure and entrap their partners. But it's not just abusive relationships. So we need to know these things. It is time to open our minds. It's interesting because people think, oh gosh, we're not really safe anymore in the world. What we're realizing as we awaken is we never were. We just didn't have a way of getting behind the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz. We didn't have a way of getting that information like we do now. We've never been safe. There have always been powerful people behind the curtain, pulling our strings, leading us to believe things, to do things, to perform, to like, to dislike, to hate. We have to do better. And speaking of people behind the curtain, the pharmaceutical industry is one of the worst. We have a pharmaceutical industry and an approach to health that began in the late 1800s. This has been going on for a while. And it's led to a mindset about not encouraging wellness, instead encouraging people to be lifelong patients, doing things to make them sick, and then giving them something not to cure, but to alleviate symptoms. And sometimes what is given is worse than the disease. So I want everybody to get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. There was so much research and work and just bravery, real courage to put this together. This is the information Pfizer wanted to keep secret for 75 years. They actually went to court to try to keep this secret for 75 years. But Naomi Wolf, Dr. Wolf, and Amy Kelly, and the whole team put together a document you can easily get just on Amazon. Please get your own copy. Find out what was going on, because if you think the whole COVID fiasco and the way we were manipulated, coerced, forced, lied to, if you think it's in the past, no. We have to really pull everything out into the light, or they're going to do it again. Now, today's topic is interesting. Once again, having conversations with young women in my building. I've told you before, sometimes I'm inspired by my neighbors, by the young women I deal with, by the women I've been dealing with of various ages. And because over the last, I'd say 5 to 10 years, we get constant criticism of men and what men do wrong. But like the explanation I gave about what bothers me about going to the beauty salon, where women will pull apart everything their current or former partner did, anything he did wrong, but no mention of their own faults. So I wanted to spend some time today, whether you're male or female, this is important information. What are women, modern women, getting wrong? I saw something from J.D. Haldigan, the psychologist that I've mentioned before. He's on X and put some great info. From J.D. Haldigan, where he cited an article and posted an article saying that women nowadays have a really high proportion of women nowadays have cluster B personality disorders and mental illnesses of some kind, and how that's impacting our social structure. Now, JD is supposed to be coming in June to actually talk to you all, so you have some questions, get them ready. He's an incredible psychologist, and he really doesn't play. But we need to talk about where women are getting it wrong. And of course, since it's me, we talk about also how we can do things better, so that we aren't in such despair, so that we don't have so many cluster Bs, so that we stop driving men crazy. And even if you don't date women, I know a couple of my favorite people that contact me on this show have told me they're gay, but you've got female friends, you work with women. So this impacts you too. Your mom's a woman. You probably have siblings. And for all of you guys who keep getting criticized all the time, this is going to give you something where you can actually cite it, bring the woman back, make her watch this. So you can say, you're picking on me. It's not my fault. You need to do something too. So think about what you need to know. Please put your questions and comments in, and let's go. Have you seen the latest fluoride headlines about the impact of fluoride in the water supply? The future of oral care isn't fluoride, it's peptides. And the wellness company just launched the first ever peptide paste that regenerates gum tissues, strengthens enamel, and naturally whitens your teeth. It's called Smile, a doctor-formulated breakthrough that works with your body's natural repair process. This advanced formula blends targeted peptides with blue spirulina, aloe vera, and powerful remineralizers to boost blood flow, stimulate collagen, and help rebuild lost gum tissue, all while gently whitening without sensitivity. Yay! No fluoride, no peroxide, no artificial dyes, just real clean ingredients that fight bad bacteria and support a healthier mouth from the inside out. Ready to upgrade your oral health? Experience the future of oral care with Smile and get 10% off plus free shipping. Head to dailycloudhealth.com and use the code DailyCloud. Take action today for a healthier tomorrow. Okay, my guys. Now, in the interest of fairness, I try very hard to admit my own faults. The fact that, for instance, that I am quite conservative, but I'm also divorced, and I regret that. In fact, one of the reasons I specialized in interpersonal relationships is because I wanted to help people make smarter marriages so we have fewer divorces. I don't think being married to somebody you're unhappy with is the secret. I think finding someone that makes you happy and you make them happy too is the secret. So, guys, just a few minutes before we get to the women. Men have played a big role in why a lot of the women have the issues that we're seeing. Gender imbalance. And by what I mean by gender imbalance is having a society that perceives males as being more important than females. Now, last time I looked, every single person on this planet had their body grown and were born from a female, okay? But because women have been devalued for so long, it left an opening, that anger, that dissatisfaction, because women are smart, women are capable. So telling someone it's okay to do that, it's like treating a woman like a breeding animal that doesn't have a brain. That left the door open for that huge dissatisfaction to explode. And then you have the feminist movement. Here's another thing that is a huge issue: a moral double standard. Now, why do I have Moses? Well, it's Charlton Heston playing Moses with the 10 Commandments. Because if you'll notice, on the 10 Commandments, they start with thou shalt not or thou shalt. It does not say thou shalt not commit adultery, but it's okay for guys, but women really have to be nicer about it. All of the rules are for both sexes. And unless you have a society that has mutual moral accountability, you're leaving another opening for women who have a real predisposition towards being fair-minded to notice, to get dissatisfied, to get angry, and then that causes chaos. Another thing, pretending women are hard or impossible to understand. No, we are not. You know who really understands women well? Abusers and predators. Now, why do they understand women well? Because they ask us questions and pay attention to the answers. Now, they also observe, they look, they make it a priority. Now, unfortunately, the reason they do it is because they know the more they understand their prey, the better they'll be able to manipulate them into doing exactly what they want. So their motives aren't good, but it really demonstrates women can be understood. You just have to make it a priority. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have looked at statements like that and say that's ridiculous. And of course, it also requires a few things that women do, like open communication, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the early feminists were not the pro-porn, pro-prostitution ickiness that we see right now. What they really wanted, they looked at women's different roles, the children in the family, and they said, is there any reason that what we do is the core of society, it's the foundation of society. Why should it be devalued? I agree with them. Why should it be devalued? If we want to have healthier children, healthier family, if we want to take control of our children away from the people who want to destroy our society, who want us to give our children into the system from the time they're infants, then we have to start valuing the traditional role and the motherhood role more highly so that women feel supported when they make that choice. Okay, so what happened? It got a little too hard. So we had, when I say modern feminists, I primarily mean what they call liberal feminists. They're the ones that think, you know, just we'll talk about them. So modern feminists right now, they decided it was all too hard to get traditional roles to be valued highly. So instead, what we're going to do, we're going to encourage women to act just like men, but not good men, really bad men. I don't see how that's a win for us, but there you go. It didn't start now. G.I. Jane came out in the late 90s. And since that time, when I read books, I've even written to authors like Mike Omer, one of my favorites. But the women that he writes, oh my goodness. I keep telling these authors, being foul-mouthed, hypersexual, and selfish does not equate to being strong. You can be a very strong woman and be none of those things. In fact, I would argue a very strong woman doesn't act like that. But that's what we see encouraged so much, and especially for young women. Look up the most popular podcast titles. Look up the shows. Look at people like Amy Schumer. She's vile. And people say, oh, that's empowering. Every other word is F this and F that. You watch a show on Netflix. You can tell if it's what I call woke casting, if it's going to be very left progressive in its presentation and not story driven, because you'll notice that in the first few scenes, the woman performs some kind of sexual act or says something very explicit. She keeps dropping F-bombs, and she's really rude and disrespectful to whatever males are around her, including somebody that's supposed to be her boss. That's what they're presenting to young women as what it means to be a strong woman. It's no wonder they keep talking to me. I'd like to be an interior designer. I would love to put myself out of business. Do this so well, everybody's got the information that there's just not enough market and I have to be an interior designer. I really would love that, but it's not happening now. Another thing modern feminists believe, men and women are physically equal. One of my favorite series, because it's hard to find a TV series that I can watch. So watching the Chicago series, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med, I get through a few seasons and then I keep having to turn it off. But one of the problems is women and men are not physically equal. So you have women in a situation where they're up against men on these shows. I've noticed they keep sending, like in Chicago PD, they keep sending the least experienced, smallest female first into a breach when they're going into a dangerous situation. They keep showing these women actually fighting with men and winning. Seriously, folks. And even on Chicago Fire, while they have the characters pay lip service to, oh, it's great having a female firefighter, because they draw a lot of the really great scenes out of real fire situations, you'll notice very quickly that the men that are in those situations have to go to the very end of their strength, the very end of their speed to save the people in trouble and to keep themselves from being killed. Which means every time you put a woman in that situation instead of another man, you are putting the whole fire team at risk, and you're putting the public at risk. Same with, I work with law enforcement, and female police officers get their butts beaten on a regular basis. Also, there's a primal instinct in males to protect females. So often the males also end up in trouble trying to protect the female, because a lot of predators look and say, hey, she's easy prey, I can take her. And so the other guy has to jump in. No. But this is what modern feminism wants to keep presenting, wants to lie to people. All of the content keeps saying this. And anybody that notices the sex differences, is called a misogynist, a sexist. And even on these shows, anybody that says something, even it's logical, rational, evidence-based, the main characters who you've grown to like and respect over time, they will bully that person. They will say really disparaging things about that person. They won't even consider if that person has a point, because it's not about entertaining you, it's about indoctrinating you. Okay, and I've shown this picture before. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. As bad as things are against men, the bias against white men, I've never seen anything like it. I could make a fortune just having a series where I talked about how bad white men are. My biggest clients and the people sending me money would be white women, followed by black women. Black men would look at that and say, uh-oh, we're next, so we're going to stay out of that. But what is that? Who wins? We have to start teaching people two things: cost-benefit analysis. You're going to do something, you're going to have a policy. Do a really thorough cost-benefit analysis. If we did a cost-benefit analysis on immigration, we would allow a very different set of people to enter and live in our country than we do now. Same thing goes with any situation. Who benefits from putting down white men like this? Women aren't happier. They're not happier. Everything I read, every journal article I read, and not just what JD posted today about the article he posted, and I apologize because I just glanced at it getting ready for the show. I don't know the author of that study, but if you look on my site, I think I reposted it. And so all credit to the author of the article. But women aren't happier. More with cluster B, more with personality disorders, more women who never marry, more women who are single and don't want to be. Oh, it's bad. There's a lot of loneliness. And I have told you before, there are so many health conditions linked with social isolation and loneliness. It's not only bad for your mental health, it also causes your physical health to start breaking down. So what are we going to do? Well, what else do women do? Let's talk about it. You know, I can't stop raving about how much this product has helped me. What about you? Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a plump, hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? Discover Native Path Collagen, made with only type 1 and type 3 collagen fibers, the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen in your body. It's found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut. Types 1 and 3 provide maximum benefits without the need for unnecessary fillers. Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. Completely flavorless, Native Path Collagen can be added to anything: coffee, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. Its peptide formula makes it more bioavailable, meaning it's absorbed more easily and mixes perfectly without clumping. And the best part, Native Path offers amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, including me, 8,000 five-star reviews, and a 365-day no risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice. Plus, they offer an 800 number for any questions about usage, ingredients, recipes, you name it. And you'll speak to a real person ready to help. If you join their private Facebook community, you can share success stories, recipes, and support each other on this journey called life. Visit getnativepath.com/daily clout and start your transformation today. That is GETNATIVEPATH.com/DAILYCLOUT. So, why are so many women lonely and unhappy? Well, let's talk about it. It's a combination of poor choices and bad taste, okay? Oh man, in fact, I've been dealing with this so intensely for the last, I'd say, 10 years that in 2023, I wrote a book. And it is a really important book because it shows both the cultural norms that have led women to make these choices and the personal beliefs that could be holding someone back from having a really good relationship with someone else. I call it Fascination with the Devil. Why Women Love Emotionally Dangerous Men. And you can find it on Amazon, or if you, sometimes they sell out, but I have copies. So you can also contact me and get your own copy. I even have, I don't know if you remember when Cosmopolitan magazine used to have all those little tests and you would say, okay, what do you like best? Is this, if this happens, what do you do? So it has tests in it. I try to make it as fun as possible. And last chapter is called Ending the Fascination. So I offer practical tips and insights into changing your taste. I'm not trying to get you to pair up with somebody that fits a list of qualities, but you're not that intrigued. You don't really love them. It's like, okay, you're doing this because you think you should. No, I want you to actually change your taste. So the person you're with is the person you really want. They really want you because you're a great partner now, and you're not continuing to make the same mistakes over and over. So today, let's talk about some of modern women's biggest problems. And of course, as always, we are solution focused. So we're going to end with some solutions. And I also wanted to remind you, please contact me. Probably the easiest way to contact me is to follow me on X. Just go on X at Dr. Dina 1 and just send me a message saying, I believe this, don't believe that. Now, also keep in mind, if you're watching this in the recording, you're watching it on Daily Clout or Rumble or YouTube, please note that if you put a comment down below, I'm certainly going to read it and I will take it into account. I'll try to answer your question. I want to make sure you're okay. This is a way to get free advice and not have to pay, okay? Now, one of the biggest problems that I saw and that I talk about in my book is how women have adapted to harmful cultural influences. Now, I follow a lot of women. Most of the people I follow think somewhat like I do. So they're more on the conservative side, not always just like super conservative, but just on the conservative side. But I saw a lot of people asking or commenting, oh, are you watching the American Music Awards? Don't watch stuff like that. Those are just huge indoctrination vehicles. Now, even if you sit there and criticize everything you see, the part of your brain that processes information, makes your decisions, tells you what to adapt to, notices you're spending hours watching this, and so it will see this as something that is part of your cultural reference, and you'll start to adapt. Don't do that. So we have Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion at the Grammys. We've got Miley Cyrus on stage wearing her strap on. We've got Katy Perry wearing not much at all. This is what we see. These are the women that get attention. They get applause, literal applause. So what does that do to the brain, especially for younger minds, but not only younger minds? Attention is one of the most primal, universal ways of communicating what should be replicated. What is paid attention to is adapted to. OnlyFans has become such a big thing. Young women told that because you're not actually being physically touched by the people watching it, and they're paying you money, it's empowering. But these are the same people who tell you sex work is work. No, sex work is trauma. That's why people who work in that field, which I have counseled in the past, have so many issues. They began with issues and they get even worse. And of course, in order to stay competitive, the OnlyFans models have started competing with each other by doing something of sleeping with hundreds of men a day, up to 1,000 men a day. There was recently an OnlyFans model in Australia who had to be hospitalized because of it. This is what is represented as empowering to young women. Also, shows like Sex and the City, where especially the Miranda character, there's no way they would have actually socialized with a woman that hyper promiscuous, because people judge you by your friends. So if they were friends with someone who acted like that, a lot of the men that they met would assume they were the same way. They'd be risking sexual assault. And then you have shows like Outlander, which is a combination, has two things that really bug me. It has the boss girl trope where Claire, the main character, is so unlikable. She's so bossy. She swears she knows everything. She goes into a situation where she knows nothing, but she's always trying to tell everybody what to do. And the show is just filled with rape, committed, attempted, gay, straight rape. And then when you talk about rape and control, 50 Shades of Grey, the fact that everybody was promoting that as something sexy, where this guy is a psychopath. So you're being encouraged to give up complete control of your life to a psychopath as long as he has money. This is not healthy at all. And then problem 2, ignoring biology. We mentioned before, it was a sad day when I actually came across sufficient evidence that it reached the tipping point when I had to acknowledge that, contrary to what I had been told since I was a very young woman, gender is not a social construct. There are predispositions based on biology, and it counts. Biology counts. So the same things that we're seeing, you have all these women going up against, looking at all these awards. This is from October 2024. So this is a year ago. At that point, men entering women's competitions had taken nearly 900 medals. Of course, it's well over 1,000 now, and it's continuing to go. Now, what has that proven? First of all, it's proven the liberal women are extremely dumb. But also, when I made the comment about female firefighters and female beat cops, here's the basis for it. We're not as fast. We're not as strong. All of the ideology and wishful thinking in the world won't make it so. You look at places like the military. I'm glad that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth said he is taking the DEI out of the military. So many things that require physical strength and speed, they were changing the qualifications so that women could enter. Didn't anybody ever think maybe that's not a good idea? The turnover of female cops is huge, and one of the reasons is the ideology does not match the reality. Also, what is being promoted by modern leftist feminism is promotion validating weak men. So they expect women to go up this Dylan Mulvaney guy. Started, I guess it was a job. He was doing just anything to get attention. He dressed in women's clothes, and all of a sudden he got so much attention, got so many bookings. He's even had facial feminization surgery. He's still a guy. But you see all of these women. You had Drew Barrymore on her show literally kneeling to this guy. And then you have men like Benedict Cumberbatch with his, this is what a feminist looks like. And you have, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, talking about, oh, they had me here, trying to apologize for being a white male because they wanted to reach out to the masculine audience. That guy doesn't have two testicles. There is no testosterone in that man's body. So this is the kind of man. And if you look at the same productions that I said are targeting young women, the men are always in the wrong. The women are always smarter. The men are always apologizing. Oh, golly, no wonder women are so unhappy. We also, again, whenever you come up against something you don't like, ask yourself, even, how did I contribute to this? Even if it's just by accepting it. How did I contribute to this? We need to ask ourselves this. When Trump won the election, we had a whole few shows where we talked about the hysteria, literal hysteria from some women. They even had a movement, a small movement called Make Aqua Tofana Great Again. Aqua Tofana is a subtle poison that was developed in Sicily in the late 17th century, so late 1600 and something, and by a woman whose last name was Tofana, and she used it to help women in abusive relationships. So they would subtly poison and kill their husbands. So you had a lot of women saying that they wanted to poison any man that was around them that voted for Trump. That is a real issue. We have women like the woman in the middle who wears a t-shirt that brags, I've had 21 abortions. I've met so many young women who only view women's rights from the lens of how easy it is for me to get an abortion. They are giving away women's rights hand over fist to the trans lobby, to the LGBT groups, to whatever. But as long as they can get an abortion, everything's copacetic. That is a problem. And then you had the 4B movement. Once again, based on Trump. They declared that until Trump is out of office, they're going to be celibate. They're not going to date. They're not going to marry. They're not going to have children. Really? And you think that's rational? And that who wins with that? Problem 5, acting like men instead of embracing our role as women. Any of the Marvel characters, any of the Star Wars characters, you always have these women who are supernaturally strong and able to dominate men, and they act just like guys. Why is that a win for us? Problem 6, long list of demands. Before I say that, my Roscoe is here. If you watched before, I love Roscoe's things. Roscoe, I was just saying what a BS term sex worker is. Yes, I call it prostitution. Sex is not work, it's exploitation, it is trauma. Telling women and telling people sex work is work. No. And you notice the powerful people are not advocating for their kids to do it because everybody knows that's BS. And for those people who bought into it, because we want to take the stigma away, it needs stigma. Prostitution needs stigma so that people don't want to do it. But the stigma needs to go on to the Johns as well, which is why I like the Nordic model, where they don't make prostitution illegal, but they do arrest the guys soliciting prostitution. Prostitution, using prostitutes, is linked with a lot of bad things for men. And I don't just mean sexually transmitted disease. They're more likely to have domestic violence in their home relationships. The dehumanization that is required with prostitution, it makes them more likely to date rape and to excuse date rape. It's not good. Nobody wins. Who wins? Nobody. Okay, now the problem 6. Oh man, have you seen any of those videos? Roscoe, tell me if you have too. Anybody else, if you want to come in and talk, please do so. Where you have these women being interviewed and they have a long list of qualifications and demands from any guy who wants to date them. Now, also, a lot of these women, I don't know where they're getting this, but this woman says if a guy wants to go out with her, he has to give her $50 for gas because she refuses to ride with you in case I want to leave. Have you seen those women that go on these dates? They actually filmed it. I don't know if it was acting or if it was genuine. She goes on a first date and she orders huge amounts of food takeaway to take to her kids. What is that? Okay, so this woman wants $75 to $100 for a babysitter, or you could pay for 2 more meals, which means you have to bring the kids with on the date. $100 for a shine haul. I need to be able to try on a few options for a date. So she expects the date to buy her clothes for the date and $100 for my toes. No need to worry about my nails since I don't get them done anyway. Yeah, you've got a lot of this. It's not unusual. I've been seeing a lot of this where women are making all of these demands. But if you ask them, what are you bringing to the table? Oh, I'm just wonderful. Really? We had one woman who's now divorced bragging about the fact her hardworking husband comes home and she doesn't do anything for him. She takes care of herself and the kids. She doesn't do anything for her husband, even though he's supporting them all. Thank goodness somebody gave him some advice and he's now given her the boot. Problem number 7, treating men with disrespect. This is something I see advocated so much in the content of what we see in Netflix and Hulu and whomever you're watching, in the content of films, TV, books, where it's F off, you did, and if they're black, they get the neck going, It's like, oh my God, what man is going to be okay with that? Just like the one with totally no self-respect whatsoever. Why is it okay to treat men like that? Okay, a lot of women now have a series of false beliefs. Now, if you have some, chime in. Don't leave it just to Roscoe. Unrealistic expectations. These are average-looking women, often very overweight. And when they've been interviewed, they say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself? They say, I'm a 10. In what universe? Okay. Just because I'm me, I'm so wonderful. It's good to have a healthy sense of self-esteem, but egotism and a mirror that obviously does not work isn't going to help you. Getting someone to back down is not winning. A lot of times men will back down when people especially women get aggressive and confrontational because they know if they keep going, they're going to get angry enough to get physical. And if they've been brought up not to get physical, or if it's a situation they don't want it to escalate, they will often walk away. Now, this also happens, and if there are any brave Black people watching this show, this is another thing that I've seen with a lot of Black people, including some of my relatives. I have a relative who thinks, oh, nobody ever wants to debate with me. I always win all my debates, because she gets this crazed look in her eyes. And people think, if I keep arguing with her, is she going to hit me? Is she going to attack me? So they back down. I told her, number one, getting somebody to back down doesn't mean you won the argument. And even if you won the argument, it doesn't mean you're correct. So this is, a lot of women think that if they get a guy to back down, that means they're empowered and they're right and they're, no. And people can get back at you subtly. It doesn't mean you're going to win. Promiscuity does not equal empowerment for males or females, and it never has. It leads to emptiness. It leads to disease. It leads to loneliness. And I've read something recently that said that women's bodies actually keep some of the DNA of any man they have sex with for decades. Now, I've only seen it once, haven't seen it replicated, but it makes sense. And then there's oxytocin. You cannot control the release of oxytocin, which will make you get attached to the person you're having sex with. Again, both sexes release oxytocin, which is why so many men who thought they were having an affair end up marrying the secretary or the mistress or whatever. Because the oxytocin was released, they got really attached. But women, because we risk pregnancy, because we are the ones that have children, we are far more likely to release oxytocin when we have sex. So promiscuity doesn't lead you anywhere good. You also end up getting used. Do you really want to be a sexual toilet for strangers? Is that a goal for you? Not for me. Okay. Now, another thing, what you get is what you keep. You cannot women often get with a man and think they can change him. No, you cannot. Now, if he decides he wants to change, it's all to the good, but you can't force it. And this whole thing about, you need to kiss a lot of frogs. No, you don't. You need to be really astute in how you assess the person you get involved with. You have to be careful. You have to be wary. And most of all, we'll talk about some other things that you need to do. Only desiring a man who doesn't want you. I'm related to some people who do this too. Nothing intrigues them more than a guy who sees them as a side piece, or an also ran, or just okay, or Ms. right now. Okay. No. Get somebody who sees your value. But the more you truly value yourself as a woman, the less you will want somebody who doesn't see it. And then we have cultural norms. In a lot of urban Black culture, this is one of the biggest problems. I've seen women arguing when they have a man who's been in jail, he doesn't bring money home, doesn't take care of his kids, got babies, mamas all over the place. Well, at least I've got a man. OMG. No, any man is not better than no man at all. Aim higher than that. But you have a lot of women who do this, which is one of the reasons Fascination with the Devil was necessary. I just meet so many women who feel a man who is selfish, inconsiderate, hypersexual, disloyal, angry, whatever. That's the guy I'll go for, the guy that really doesn't value me. No, after you deal with me, you won't think that anymore. So let's talk about some solutions here, because I like to be solution focused, and we've got a little over 10 minutes. So if anybody has a question, or if you have something else that you think women do that has driven you crazy, send me a little note. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about why people are doing it and what can be done about it. If it's you, if you're stuck on a loop of bad taste, if you're one of those women or if one of the things I didn't put because I didn't know how much time it would take, Some women, a big blunder, a lot of women get a sense of empowerment from competing with other women. So they're always chasing after somebody else's boyfriend or husband. Nothing good comes out of that. Because even if you get him, even if you win him, you will never be able to trust him because you're going to expect every other woman to act just like you. So, solution number one, if you don't pay attention to anything else, if you are female, hear this. The smartest, and for guys too, the smartest thing to be is a hard act to follow. Okay? So, don't have a list of things that you demand, basic things like he has to have core values. He has to have moral values. If he has children, he has to spend time with them and take care of them. Nothing wrong with having that. He has to treat me with respect. He has to respect his parents. He has to have a good work ethic. Okay, great. What are you bringing to the table? Bring a lot. And you won't be lonely. Unless you'll spend time alone only if you want to. And number one, be ready to learn as you go. 2 books, again, that I recommend. Carol Dweck again, Mindset, talking about developing a growth mindset so that if you come up against something that's challenging, if you read Fascination with the Devil and you've been making excuses for your bad taste and poor choices all of these years, sometimes you might find it a little confronting. But if you have a growth mindset, first of all, because I don't leave you hanging, I show you why it's not all on you. You've been probably influenced to believe that and act like that. And I help you know what to do about it. But if you are confronted by something that's tough, a growth mindset allows you to perceive it differently. Oh, this is a challenge. I can do this. I will keep going until I get there. And then, of course, Stephen Covey's classic, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, with both of these, I know you're busy. Don't forget, audiobooks are available. So you can listen to this in your car as you go to work or while you're doing housework or as you're jogging or whatever. Be ready to learn as you go. Become self-reliant. And I'm not saying don't need a man when you have one, because men are wonderful things if you're with a good one. But if you're desperate, when we talk about the tactics used by abusers to lure in women who are bright and careful and are not desperate sexually or otherwise, one of the ways they're able to do it is because you're not self-reliant, because you need help. So learn how to do things and take care of yourself. If someone comes along that can help you, great. If not, you're not desperate enough to allow the kind of abuser I call hairy helpful to come into your life and take over, because he's taking over duties that you just don't want to do or can't do yourself. And work on yourself. I told you the smartest thing I did when I broke off with my long-term partner. Well, he broke it off. I was heartbroken. Was I tried to figure out, I spent some time figuring, what did I do wrong in that relationship? Sure, I can list what he did wrong and what's wrong with him, and it makes me feel better a little bit. But what about me? What did I do wrong? Work on your bad habits. Work on your destructive beliefs. Don't just keep going and thinking, well, the right person will just be there for me. He's looking for the right person too. That's got to be you. Respect others and command respect. One of the ways of commanding respect is not to dress like a hoe. You heard me. Looking at the music awards, if you dress like that in real life, remember, those women have bodyguards. When you dress showing everything, what you are signaling is sexual availability. And you're signaling that to anybody in the room, indiscriminately. So even if he's not aware of it, the average guy will respect you less for dressing like that. You can find beautiful clothes that show off your figure, your face, whatever you think is some of your good features without signaling indiscriminate sexual availability. And also, watch your tone of voice when you're talking to people. I've heard so many women, as this again, watching TV, even one of the women that wanted to buy my house when I was living in Melbourne during COVID, I told you, and after that, I sold my house. And one of the people who really wanted my house was a couple. And the woman, the way she talked to her husband, I advised the real estate agent, if you can, please try to find somebody else to buy my beautiful house. I just hate the way she talks to her husband. She just, total disrespect. And you see this a lot. Again, if I have any Black women, I often hear a lot of Black women, not only to their husband, to their kids, the tone of voice is terrible. Monitor your tone of voice. Treat people with respect. You can say no and not be loud. And in fact, if you have the integrity that I keep harping on about everybody developing, you don't need to raise your voice. Communicate openly and honestly. This is one of the things that more men come to me and get bugged about than anything else. Women don't tell them what they really think, what they need, what they want. They ask them, they don't want, they're thinking he should know. When you're first getting to know someone, though, don't give them too much of your business. Don't share too much. Value your time, your affection, and your sexuality. Don't sleep with everybody you go out with. Sorry, guys, but I'm going to advise some of this. Men don't value what they don't work for. So you value yourself and understand, once again, remember oxytocin. Look at this guy and think, do I want a relationship with him? If I don't know, then it's too soon to sleep with him. There are wonderful men available. I've even thought about starting a dating service or a matchmaking service, because dating is not enough. I would want to start a service for people looking to get married. There are wonderful men out there. So don't waste your time on the bad ones. He doesn't really want, and bad includes he just doesn't want you. He wants something else. Don't try to force it. Don't totally change who you are. Find somebody who wants what you have to offer, but make sure what you have to offer is your best version of yourself and that it's genuine. If you're in a relationship, offer peace and understanding. Everybody that lives in a house should look forward to coming home. Most men don't like to be bothered when they walk in the door. I know when I was married, one of the things I did, and see, he can't complain because I was nice to him. Until he wore a suit to work, until he changed into his casual clothes and started a conversation with me, I would greet him very nicely and just leave him alone. Sometimes men need to decompress when they come home. Often women come home and we're like, oh my God, you would not believe it. But that's often not how guys are. And also, don't play games with the sexuality. If you want him to be loyal, the sex has to be there, and it has to be something he shouldn't have to beg for. Got a man? Let him know he's needed. Men need to be needed. If he does things, appreciate it. If you want someone to feel loved, male or female, attention, affection, appreciation, again, make it regular. Don't make them beg for it. And women, complain less, appreciate more, including silently, just smiling and bringing him some food or, doing something like that. When women complain, we don't realize when we talk to each other, we'll complain and we're just hearing each other out. Often when men hear a complaint, they perceive it as you expect them to have a way of fixing it. And if they don't have a way to fix it, it makes them uncomfortable. So, and nobody wants to be around somebody that complains all the time. Don't do that. Make an effort with your health and your appearance. So, any additional questions or comments, you know how to reach me on X, Dr. Dina 1. Email me, drdinablog@gmail.com, and that includes If you would like to hire me with my domestic violence services, my Healing the Rift program, I even have a gambling harm reduction program. I'll talk about that a little bit more next week. And I'm right now in the process of putting together some little ads so you'll know exactly what I have to offer and where to get it. But in the meantime, if you have a comment or question about anything we've talked about today, please reach out. And thank you for joining me. I'll see you next Tuesday. Hopefully, this meant no more boring Tuesdays. See you next Tuesday.